Welcome to another live edition of Deep Look. It is Tuesday, March 25th, noon Eastern Time. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me, Ultiworld Senior Editor Keith Raynor. And Keith, right here, I have a little peach Waterloo seltzer, all right? So I'm going to pour this into a bowl, and I'm going to get my day started with a little plunge.
The rise of seltzer has been a huge detriment to my Ultiworld tournament experience because it's literally the only beverage that's ever purchased. Sometimes we get Gatorades, but when you go back to the Ultiworld house, it's just filled with a variety of seltzers, and I do not enjoy seltzer. I don't begrudge anybody for enjoying it, but if the folks who make the decisions about purchasing things for the Ultiworld house could get any other beverage on occasion, that would be
Okay.
appreciated.
First of all, this is complete slander. There's literally always Gatorade. Okay. And there's also something called water out of the sink, Keith.
I mean, I drink a lot of water out of the sink.
Just listen. You've been around a long time. You've been to every college nationals with me. What do you want me to get from Costco for you?
I mean, Gatorade or some other similar substance totally works. That fits the bill. And I do enjoy water, and I'm not above drinking tap water either. So those are all good solutions.
The seltzers are a huge hit, by the way. We have to buy
I know this. This is why I'm not mad that we get seltzers. Like, they are very popular. People are very into them, and I'm glad that we found a product that's so satisfying for so many of my coworkers and compatriots.
Seltzer brand rankings. Here we go. Number 1, Spindrift. Not close. Number 2, Polar. I usually get Polar from Costco, but Waterloo is on sale. I think it's my number 3. Then you're looking at like Perrier. Honestly, San Pellegrino, very overrated. Kind of just doesn't have a great taste. I could keep going, but we should probably get into the show. Northwest Challenge.
I think the people might be here for your seltzer rankings.
We'll see what the chat says. Northwest Challenge was this past weekend, and basically mini nationals for the women's division. And we get a lot of the heavy hitters, and it was quite an interesting weekend. I mean, UBC looked unbeatable on day 1, and then they do not win. They do not win, Keith. Carleton takes it down. Syzygy, maybe we'll see what happens in the overall rankings at the end of the day, because they're definitely going to be making a case for a number 1 overall seed. Right now, I don't think the latest USAU rankings are up, but on Frisbee rankings, they are 4 points behind UBC, which is just like a meaningless difference. And of course, have this big head-to-head win late in the season. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with overall seeding and nationals. But let's talk about this Carleton team and what happened in Northwest Challenge.
Carleton, very strong result. They started to look like they have solved some of the offensive issues that felt like they might have been a challenge for them at Queen City Tune-Up, where it felt like they didn't really have the dynamism downfield with Naomi Fina playing more around the disc that you might want it. And I still don't feel like they have like an ace cutter in the hole, but in the aggregate, between their ability to move the discus throwers and the performance of their various downfield players, I think they put together something that looks sustainable for them offensively. We saw big results from the likes of Fina and Shanti Cheer and Opal Burris playing very well. And of course, a player I think is potentially going to be in a position for Player of the Year votes in Chagall Gelfand, who's been fantastic. But looked deep and strong, and they're back fully into the contender status. If you had any doubts, because we hadn't really seen a big result from this team yet, and this was what you need to see. They beat Oregon 13-11 in the semifinals, and then really thumped Colorado in the final 13-7. But a Colorado team that looked like they had kind of emotionally spent themselves boat racing UBC in the semifinals too.
I'm curious for how much you think this is going to matter, like matchups wise, when we get to nationals. Because, for instance, Tufts has a win over Carleton back at Queen City. I know that's a long time ago now, and maybe they look like a different team. But, given that Colorado looked really good at spots this weekend, but then gets kind of blown out by Carleton in the final, like, what do you is this like a fatigue issue? Do you think it's a matchups thing? How do you kind of project forward into nationals?
I think some of it's matchups. I mean, I think UBC. I think there's a still a pretty good argument for them to be the favorite going into nationals. They had a lull against Colorado in a game they were roundly outplayed, but really was kind of out of reach very early on. And Colorado jumped out to a nice lead and really was playing fantastic defense. And UBC looked totally out of sorts. We hadn't really seen a game like this from them where they were struggling to execute, and they seemed a bit frazzled by that. But this is not uncommon. You don't see a lot of teams just roll through a schedule like theirs to get to that point anyway. So I think this is not a huge shocker now that we have seen it. This is what you would typically expect to see a team have this kind of fumble somewhere in the resume. And it would have been more impressive if they had obviously pulled it out. But that would have been more surprising to me, really, that they had run the table, because I don't think we expected that from this team coming into the year. A great showing of ceiling from Colorado, which I don't think we've quite seen from them yet. But there was some questions. Our reporter Bridget Meisner after Saturday kind of was saying, hey, overhype the parody going into this year, and parody's back on the menu, folks.
Well, I want to get more into it. We've got plenty to talk about because I want to talk about, like, where's the national championship like tier? Who can win a title? We'll get to that, but first, I do want to hit our trivia question of the week.
All right, we're going back to a little bit of Guess the Player today. So for those of you doing your first Guess the Player, I'm going to give you some information about a mystery player, and I'll continue to add hints as we go along, and we'll see if you can figure out the identity of this player. The facts about them, I think, are probably fairly exclusive, but might not be exclusive. I didn't look at every player to see if this is the only person who fits these criteria, but I think we'll be able to get there. So Charlie, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 pieces of information about this player, and then I want you to take a second before you answer. Take a second to think about it. Let the chat think about it. Okay, and then we'll move into it. So this player has reached the club national semifinals with 2 different teams. They played at club nationals when they were a college freshman, and they were named an All-American, an all-club selection before being named an All-American in college. Those are your 3 hints about this player. So take a second to think about it, and I'll tell the folks at home a little bit about Breakmark. It's their 20th anniversary, and they're celebrating by doing giveaways on Instagram every Friday. Now, they've been giving away some of the free sling bags, some of their other sweet gear. So you got to check in to see what goodies they have in store for y'all this week. But here at Deep Look, we can help you win double the chances to win the prize here. So you'll get an extra entry into the giveaway if you use our special code. This week, the code is BIDS. The code is BIDS because Charlie and I are going to be talking about the bid picture after we get through this college chatter. So BIDS is your code. That'll double your entries. You go to @Breakmark on Instagram. That's Breakmark, the official jersey provider for the Western Ultimate League. And enter in BIDS, and then you'll get double your chances to win. So thanks to Breakmark. Charlie, you've had a chance to think about it. Who are you thinking about as your player?
This is tough. So their first nationals appearance was as a freshman in college, and they got all club before they were recognized as a college player. Is that accurate?
Right. That is correct.
Gosh, it's just like a massive universe of possible, like, no one is coming to mind. I'm like trying to think of like who would have made a team and gone to nationals as a freshman in college. Like, that's a rarity enough on its own, right? So this is going to be a very polished high school player. And they weren't like a rookie of the year, right? Because then they would have been recognized. Well, I guess they could have been a first year freshman, right?
They probably
Oh,
should have.
as in,
I
like,
mean,
in retrospect, they should have been Rookie of the Year?
maybe I can't actually remember. It's possible they got hurt during the season or didn't get to play the full season or something like that.
Oh. I I don't have a great guess, unfortunately.
All right, let me
I
give
need
you some
help. I
hints.
need help.
I'll give you a hint. I'll tell you that right now the chat is throwing out some names. Anna Thompson, Abby Hecko is some potential answers for you, so maybe you'll think about that. I'll
Hecko's a
give you another
good
hint.
answer because she was a great high school player, but I guess now she's been to nationals with 2 teams. But I don't
I'm gonna
remember
give you
Hecko
some
getting an all
teammates,
club. Okay, great.
that this person has played with throughout their career. Okay,
This is club only or club
uh,
and college?
club and college. Uh, Nikki Spiva, Nathan Pryor, Calvin Brown,
Oh, whoa.
Charles Weinberg. These are teammates of this player throughout their career.
Nikki Spiva. Okay, so that could mean somebody from the South, possibly. Freshman club player. Say the
I'll
I'll
give you
throw
those names
out
again.
I'll throw out John Stubbs.
John Stubbs is the guess. It is not John Stubbs. I'll give you those teammates again. These are players who this person has played with throughout their career. Nikki Spiva, Nathan Pryor, Calvin Brown, Charles Weinberg.
DC? Nathan Pryor, so DC guy. Uh gosh. Calvin Brown. So that could be like a slow guy, or it could be someone who played in California, or I guess in New York. Because Weinberg,
Try to give you
God.
some names that
I
could
mean,
be mixed in a couple different places.
it's hard. It's hard.
This
I
is
still don't
hard.
have
Okay,
like a player in my head.
this player has twice been on the Player of the Year podium.
College.
Does that help you at all?
College or club?
Yeah, I'll give you specifically college. Yes,
Oh, okay.
a lot of players have done that.
Hmm. Calvin Brown. Like, who the hell has played with Calvin Brown and is on the podium? I'm completely stumped, Keith. I'm usually
All
better
right,
at this.
I'll give you one more set of hits that I think will help you get there. I'm going to give you some more teammates this person's played with.
No one in the chat has it either yet.
Sam Van Dusen,
Okay,
Noah
so
Big
we're now
Cat
talking
Robinson,
Pittsburgh. So it's one of the
uh,
Ings. Is it
Leo
really
Gordon.
Leo Gordon?
Come
It's
on.
got to be one of the Ings. I guess I'm gonna go Henry Ing.
Come on. It's right there. It is. You're right. It is one of the Ings, but which one of them
It's my
played with a
other.
bunch
It's
of
the other Ing.
people on Revolver?
Michael Ing.
Like,
Fine. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Right. Of course.
Michael
Of course.
Ing. I
Of
will.
course.
I
Of
thought
course.
about giving you the calendar. You did at least get it within the family unit of players.
Noah Big Cat
I thought
Robinson. Dude, that's a throwback.
I thought that the Anna Thompson thing might make like the chat guessing Anna Thompson might jog you into the amp space early, but it
It
didn't get you
definitely
there.
makes sense. When did he play with Pryor? Because he didn't play on.
They
I only
played with
think of
on
Pryor.
Revolver together.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, Nathan
I
Pryor
really
played with
only
Revolver
remember
for a
him
couple
playing
years.
for Truck Stop.
Nikki Spiva was on amp and so was Charles Weinberg, both with Michael Ing.
Okay. Yep.
There you go.
That was the hard thing about Spiva. You're giving me too many players who play in too many places.
I know. I tried to throw you some curveballs.
Good job, Simone. AJ says my seltzer rankings are criminal. All right, well, AJ, while we continue the show, put your seltzer rankings in the chat, and I will tell you whose are criminal. I'm not afraid to hand out L's out here. Okay. Keith, let's get back into it. Northwest Challenge. Where do you want to go next?
I mean, it's an interesting tournament because of the way some of these results broke down. I mean, obviously the Colorado over UBC thing is probably the biggest news, followed by Colorado falling to Carleton in the final. Oregon again reaching another semifinal, but they lost a game in pool play to Michigan in what was one of the big surprises of the weekend. They lose 12-11. Maybe Michigan's the next big story, but to me, this Oregon team, like, is it starting to feel like they're capped? Like they just can't get over the hump on the elite teams. Like the resume is starting to feel a lot like a quarters team, like a team that's going to get to quarters and be competitive and then lose by 3 or 4 in quarters. Uh, I don't know if that's how you feel about Oregon, but that's what the picture they're painting is right now.
I understand the skepticism. I mean, by ranking, they are going to lose in quarters, right? They're 5th in the rankings right now. And it just feels like they haven't really gotten a lot of those key wins. Now, they did beat Carleton back at SBI, but that was a long time ago. Since then, I'm not sure you love the resume, right? I mean, that's the hard part
The
about all
Colorado
this.
wins look
Like,
better. The Colorado win looks better
yeah,
now, but
exactly. And a win over UNC in, admittedly in consolation. Like, I don't know if I feel like I've seen enough of like sustained victories over the elite teams at a tournament to feel like they're going to be able to put together a run and actually win a title.
I'll also note they were playing without Miko Magnet this weekend, which I
Which
think
is a big
obviously
deal, to
hurts
be
their
fair.
offense.
Yes, yes. Um, I mean, more than anything, I just feel like this tournament flattens out what I believe is possible at nationals. So we still have Tufts in the picture, right? Like they could be the best team in the country. That's very possible. UBC looked great until they didn't against Colorado in semis. Um, Obviously a great weekend for Carleton. And I would say really a great weekend for Colorado, who beat UNC, right, for the first, it was first time in the gazillion years or something.
Yeah, I think they
To
scored 3
me, like
straight to win that one. They came back and broke to win.
crazy, right? You think about like the absolute baggage that hangs over them in that UNC matchup. It's been a very painful last 5 or 6 years. But then to mow down Washington and UBC on route to the final is very impressive. It for sure raises my belief in their chances to win a title. So now I just feel like I have a huge list of teams that I think can win: Carleton, UBC, Colorado. Um, I think I'm still in, definitely in on Tufts. And then the question is like, are you still in on UNC? Are you still in on Oregon? And I think I'm at this point I'm out on Vermont. I'm just straight up out.
Yeah, that was the other big question here was how was Vermont going to kind of right the ship after an unimpressive Queen City tune-up? And to some degree, you could ask the same thing about UNC. And I don't think Vermont did much to answer those questions. They had to come back to beat UC San Diego on Universe to open the tournament. They won some big wins in consolation, beating UNC and Michigan, but last 2 games of the weekend after elimination from contention, after getting dominated by Carleton, those are not great results. And you could probably say a similar thing for UNC. Michigan's the team I think that picked up the most stock coming
Sure.
from the east side of the country, and maybe you could still squint and say we don't have enough information to say about Stanford. They were missing a bunch of people this weekend. Turned in a pretty poor tournament overall, but did beat Michigan even shorthanded. So the jury's out for me on Stanford, but it does feel like tier 2 is starting to feel a little bit further away from tier 1. But teams like Colorado have crossed that bridge. I think we would have had them as a tier 2 team based on their results coming into this tournament. Now they're starting to feel like a tier 1 team. And I still feel like quarters could be pretty exciting. And we don't even know which teams are going to get there. San Diego and SLO and Santa Cruz, all these Southwest teams, they could really figure into the mix. You got to put Michigan into that conversation to be a quarters team and a threat to make semis based on how they performed. So I think that you still have a crowded field of teams. Even if the title contender group's starting to feel a little bit thinner, the teams that could upset a title team group now still feels pretty robust.
Well, you say that the title field is thinning. I mean, sort of, but I also feel like there are more credible teams at this time of year than we typically have. And
I agree with that.
last couple of years, right? It's felt like maybe there's two teams, arguably one team. And
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, it's felt like one team and a bunch of teams chasing them.
thank God UNC dynasty is over. I mean,
Oh God.
I don't want to be a hater, but like it's done. I don't think this team wins a title, though. I have to give them credit for consistently showing up and playing great at nationals. I just don't think that they're not talented enough to beat all of these teams. They could still get to semis. They could still get to finals, but I don't think they're going to win the title this year. Just not enough there. But I just feels like there are 5 teams, maybe 6, that could still win a championship, and that's very exciting. I feel like you saw that play out this weekend.
Just fully seeding the UNC audio for their eventual championship highlight reel.
It's going to be absolutely brutal. Yeah, I mean, definitely got to give some love to Michigan. They jumped 7 spots in the rankings. Very respectable loss to UBC by 3. Nice wins over Washington, SLO, Western, and of course that Oregon win standing out to kick off the tournament. Awesome stuff. And I did not see this team coming like this.
Neither did I. I mean, I felt like they were a team that's going to be hanging around the top 10, 15, be better than the teams right below them, but struggle against elite competition. That has just not been the case. And you have to wonder what would have happened if they had gotten their shot at Queen City Tune-Up. The weird format kept them from making the semifinals because due to the weather delays, they had to go into 5 pools. So one of the pool winners just didn't get to go to semifinals. They were dominant at Queen City Tune-Up. So they just couldn't earn their way in. Now they get their chance against elite competition, and Cat McGuire looks like one of the best players in the country, which that part is less surprising. But they had some depth. They look like a team that is in the right position experience-wise. They have a bunch of players who've played together for a while, who've built up, and they feel like that kind of like senior-heavy team that could really make a run based on the way that they've been playing. Zaza Capriles is playing really well. Sophia Harvey, Calliope Cutchins, obviously, they have a good group. So I think they looked very legitimate. This did not look like fluky play for them.
What other storylines you want to hit here? I mean, the great thing about this tournament is that like every team is good, so you can kind of talk about everybody. But whose stock fell the most for you? Is it Carolina? Vermont?
I think it's got to be Vermont whose stock fell the most. We have not seen them show the ceiling at all. I mean, if they have, then you got to be concerned. But right now, I think you can't just give them a talent pass right now because we aren't seeing the flashes that you want to see from a team with their renown. I mean, there are a lot of great players on this team, and it's definitely surprising to see that they just have not been able to hang with most of the elite teams that they've seen.
Yeah, I think, maybe giving a little too much credit to the depth on that team and not enough to some of the key players that they graduated this past season. Still going to be a good team. Still could pop off, but a little bit of uncertainty for sure. Just want to. AJ says LaCroix number 1, Aha number 2, Bubbly number 3. I mean, just truly horrendous choices. I'm sorry, AJ. Like LaCroix is massively overrated, and those other 2 are like what you buy when there's nothing else, or it's like what's on sale. Jake says that Spindrift is horrid. Sorry, personally, I like to drink seltzer with actual juice in it rather than just like fake flavor. Personally.
I love all the seltzer jokes that this was in a room with an orange once flavor, like
yeah.
Those are great.
LaCroix deserves the scorn. I'll still drink it, to be clear. Northwest Challenge also happened in the men's division, not nearly the same tournament, but still some important bid implications. We've got Oregon State taking a 15-13 win over Western Washington. UW and Victoria falling in the semifinals. What did you make of what we saw this week, which, by the way, included a nice performance from BYU once again?
Oh, look at these scores, Charlie. Look at these results. The Northwest is going to be a freaking mess at regionals. I mean, 15-13 Oregon State over Western Washington in the final. But Oregon State also dropped a game to BYU and then lost to UCLA 15-14 and beat Western Washington 15-14 and Victoria 14-13 at the rest of the tournament. So, they felt like they might have been the clear 2 team after Oregon, and it looks like they're pretty close to the pack. You got Washington. They have the mysterious loss to Virginia on Saturday morning. Don't know what's up with that. Then they lose to Oregon State. They beat UBC by 1. You could just point to any of these Northwest teams and find a bunch of really close results with teams either that they literally will be facing at regionals or are of the caliber. It is going to be a mess at Northwest Regionals. The picks competition could really swing on who gets the right Northwest Regionals combination.
Oh my gosh, seriously. I mean, look at this right now. Your men's Northwest teams are ranked 2, 5, 8, 11, 13, 19, 20, 23, and 24. Okay. And we have the uncertainty of BYU and what will happen with their bid, whether they play or they do not play. So as it stands right now, assuming BYU plays, it's going to be a 5-bid region, but it could end up being 4. And regardless, it's going to be crazy because you have a bunch of teams outside the bid cutoff that are really good.
Yeah, like you have to get to like 7 or 8 for this to become boring. I mean, I guess if you had like 6 or 7 and you're only cutting out like one team, it's still going to be at least like 3 flame emojis, because you just don't know what Utah State and Utah are going to be the teams like at the fringe. Like those are good teams,
Yep.
We've seen good things from UBC and UVic this year. So they've got a deep group, and it just feels like nobody but Oregon is safe.
I mean, even Oregon State, who won this tournament, they lost 2 games earlier in the weekend. They dropped a game to UCLA of all teams, but that wasn't even the craziest upset of the week. Keith, how crazy was this Virginia win? They end up losing the pool after opening their tournament with a 15-14 win over Washington. That may be the biggest upset of the season.
I don't even know what to make of it. It's so strange. But this is not Virginia's first rodeo getting a key upset. Let's not forget that they took down Georgia Tech to start Carolina kickoff, a Tech team that then turned around the next day and beat UNC. So, yeah, maybe they've got one good upset in them, and that's all they could muster. But
saving for the right time.
For sure.
I mean, to be honest, like
we've seen that play well at AC regionals.
Yeah, even though they don't end up making the bracket because they dropped those 2 games, honestly, it was a pretty good weekend for them overall. Like they're definitely a team to pay attention to into the postseason. The UCSD loss not great, but playing within 4 of Utah, crushing Wisconsin. Like it certainly was no perfect weekend, but I'm compelled by Virginia. But of course, it's going to mean that they need some bid help, which may not be coming.
Not a good weekend for Wisconsin. Speaking of the Hodex, that the shine that they picked up at Florida warm up has worn off. I mean, still think. I don't know how you're handicapping them heads up versus Minnesota. I guess we'll see what Minnesota can bring to Easterns if we can start to see some progress from them. But right now, looking like a one-bid North Central.
Who cares? I mean, it doesn't matter
because
Carleton's going to wipe both of those teams off the map. And I say that knowing all too well how crazy North Central regionals can get, but it's not happening this year, folks. Carleton is too good. All right. Yeah. What else? Anything else on Northwest Challenge?
No, Western Washington, credit to them. They look legit. This is 2 tournaments in a row. We've seen them play pretty well, and they have a good core to build around. I was really enamored with their recruiting class coming into the year. I don't know how that group is. That group's at least going to be deep. On top of having, they're going to have a number of players they're going to feel that they can throw out there, along with Cedar Hines and Eli Diamond. So and Zoli as well. So they're a real team. They could make nationals and go and win games there.
All right, let's zoom in on the bid conversation right now. We'll start with men's and just take a look at like where things stand going into the final weekend of the regular season. Obviously, you kind of have this BYU question. We've taken a look right now at spots 10 through 25 on frisbeerankings.com. And you can see right now Vermont sitting as that last bid team in for New England. Very interesting weekend coming up because Wash U, for instance, is playing at Huck Finn, where they're going to be the heavy favorite. And it's kind of a risky spot for them because they're mostly playing weaker teams. They need to run up scores. And if they do, they can probably lock themselves up a bid for the South Central and pass one of those Northeast teams. But you got Brown lurking. They're playing this weekend. It's probably done for teams past there. Maybe like I think Tech and Georgia are both Easterns, right?
They are, and that's kind of the case for a bunch of these.
They'd have to go crazy.
Well, right now you have to. The problem is that you have to parlay. Like if you're the Southeast, it's Georgia and Georgia Tech. If you're the Ohio Valley,
both to play
it's Pitt and Pittsburgh. If you're the Great Lakes, it's Chicago and Michigan. Any of those teams could theoretically move in a position to get a bid, but it's not going to matter unless they both do. So, you can't say that you could stick a fork in either of them or in any of the 3 of them, but it's now a far cry. I mean, they're going to need to really, really have things break their way in order for any of those regions to become a 2-bid region. So you're really seeing a consolidation right now amongst the Northwest, the Southwest, and potentially the South Central and New England. And New England. I said the right one.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it does feel like I think is Texas just done? I think they're just done. So they're probably going to be fine sitting where they are. And there's just a big enough gap that really what you're looking at is, are we going to get 4 New England bids and 2 South Central, or are we going to get 3 New England bids and 3 South Central? I think that's the most likely outcome. But keep in mind, you might also want to be the next team up because if BYU doesn't play or ineligible or whatever issues could come up there, the bid will drop down to the next team. So,
although with 5 of the teams in that area, the Northwest is very likely to be positioned to take that bid, regardless of whether BYU accepts it or not.
Maybe, but like if Brown has a good weekend, Wash U is almost 50 points ahead of Western Washington and UVic. So, it's possible, but you'd need a bunch of those bubble teams to play badly to bring the Northwest back into the picture.
Yeah, and a lot of those West teams have a lot of games, so their ratings are more stable. When you look at a team like Michigan that's played 7 games, they've got a volatile ranking. They have room to move. So even though they're low, they probably have a better chance of jumping up than someone like a UVic who has 21 games and will be relying on second order effects.
Right. Going to be an interesting finish of the year. Let's take a look at the women's side. This is going to be mostly wrapped up at this point. Southwest sitting with 6 bids with Santa Barbara and Davis, your last 2 in. Some of these teams are playing at ECI. And so what is still possible, Keith? Like, does it feel like we have an actual opportunity for some stuff to move? I mean, Northwest Challenge was kind of the big top end tournament, but you've got Tufts and Northeastern and Virginia and a bunch of other bubbly teams playing at East Coast Invite this weekend.
Yeah, I think there's chance for one bid to move. I'll note that BYU in USAU's rankings was not indicated as a potential bid earner. So we think
They
that
are
BYU
ineligible or
has
something.
said they are not going to play in the series.
Right.
So BYU is not going to figure into the bid picture. We don't think right now. Northeastern is playing at ECI. ECI doesn't have pools, so they have like a prefabricated schedule that's kind of based on their own requests and other teams' requests. So they only have 11 games. They definitely have a chance to move. They are kind of in a pretty win and in situation. Like if they play well, if they put together the rankings numbers, I think they're going to be able to move up. I mean, they only are 40 points behind UC Davis, and that's approximate. I don't know what the actual point values will be.
And they only have 11 games played, so they can actually can move the needle here, Keith. They're also heads up playing Virginia, in the kind of, which is awesome.
Right, they're in the kind of tournament that should be good for the rankings, which is playing teams that are ranked below you, but are not far enough away that you're like at risk just by stepping on the field with them. The Ohio Valley is much in the situation that we talked about in the men's division. The Ohio Valley is, which is, yes, UPenn and Ohio State are right around the line, but they would need both of them to move up to be successful in earning another bid. So, maybe you look at William & Mary. They only have 5 games, so they have a hyper volatile rating. They and UVA are both around trying to get the AC a second bid. So there's some chance for other things to happen here. There are just fewer played games, I think, really in the women's division when you get off of the West Coast. So all those West Coast teams have a bunch of games, but they're all pretty secure. So could we see a Southwest bid shift to either New England or the Atlantic Coast? I think that's possible. I think that's really the only thing that's up in the air, though.
It's going to take a mega weekend from Virginia, given that they're like 200 points back of the cutoff right now. So I think much more likely that Northeastern can make a run. We will see what happens this weekend and the final weekend of the college regular season. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. When we come back, we're talking about this upcoming weekend, including a preview of Easterns and D3 Easterns. Stay with us.
McCrane just muscling Goldstein out, and Goldstein with the improbable catch. There's more on the line anytime these two teams play. The premier rivalry in the men's college division. And it's an incredible catch. Williams goes up and he makes the play. Getting over the top.
Trying to throw the greatest. And he's going to throw a hammer into the end zone.
Big scoober from Sudoku.
Now to Nethercutt. No, a great grab from Nethercutt to save possession. Now he'll throw the hammer all the way across the field, looking for Hastings, and he toes the line.
Welcome back to Deep Look, one of the top 25 sports podcasts on the internet in the world, according to millionpodcast.com. Yes, it is true. We were ranked number 23. We're just balling like that. Maybe
everyone knows
as much as those Eastern highlights were.
Millionpodcast.com is the number one source.
You don't go there every day? It's not bookmarked for you? They got to get the updated logo though. I bet we'd go up to 22 or 21 if we got the logo, the new logo.
That's fair.
There. But hey, if you haven't liked and subscribed, if you haven't left 5 stars on Spotify, slap one on there. We next year might be a number 18, 17. Maybe we're cracking the top 15, top 10. You could be a part of the movement.
What is
Hope
this
you were enjoying those
4.8 out of
Eastern
5?
highlights.
If you're not giving 5
that's good.
stars, delete your account.
Look at how many reviews we have. I looked at the list. Like other people have like 20 something reviews. Like our reviews are strong. We're on it. Also want to mention that we couldn't be the great break podcast we are without the support of some of our friends like Sunbreak. And it's time for Dis Northwest's 35th annual Sunbreak tournament this July 4th weekend. And this year they're taking the action to Bellingham, Washington, which is known for its beautiful fields and incredible views. You can camp right at the field site so you can soak up the summer vibes all day, all night, hanging out with everybody. The Saturday night party is an ultimate tradition. Unlike any other, they got food trucks, music, dancing, and this year's family game night. So there's going to be a game night tent. So you'll want to have your board game supplies with you. Bring the dice, bring the cards, bring the pencils and pens if you need them. But it's a fun camping tournament. Charlie, what do you think is like? Do you have any survival tips for going to the party camping tournament? What do you need to know? Just your first time out.
Hydrate, but don't just drink water. Bring some liquid IV, bring some Gatorade. Like, I think that's the number one thing, right? Especially if you're going to be drinking some other alternative beverages as well. You got to make sure you're staying hydrated because you're going to be out in the sun all day. And honestly, just put sunscreen on. Like, the big mistake is just like not taking care of the basics. Take care of the basics. Don't ignore the basics, and everything else will be fine. Eat.
Check the
drink.
weather and prepare for the weather.
Yes. That's a good one.
Make sure you have. I have been to a lot of
for your
tournaments. Please make sure that you have the layers necessary. Like, never assume that it's going to just be warm. So make sure you have the layers necessary, and the socks you may need. Now, for Sunbreak in particular, I mentioned they're gonna have the board game tent for family game night, and the competition of the tournament ranges from elite club teams to league level teams, college reunion teams. So you can celebrate the beauty of the Ultimate community with the people connected by their passion for the game. Sign up now at discnw.org. The bid window is open, but the spots are limited, so don't miss out on one of the world's most celebrated tournaments.
All right, Keith. Time to take a look at Easterns. This is the typical capstone event of the season in the men's division. They're adding a very competitive D3 Easterns this year as well. We will take a look at that too, but we'll start with the pools for Division 1. 20 teams deep. Mostly, you got to have been a good team to get into this tournament, or make a big statement in the fall or early spring. You can also qualify in through the Easterns qualifier. Shout out JMU. You're probably going to lose all your games, but it's a great experience. We saw the incredible Easterns highlights during the break there. Check out the full video. And look at these pools, Keith. What stands out? What's our pool of death? Who's going to make a run? This is it's mini nationals. Look at this.
Well, JMU's got to make pool D the pool of death. I mean, I don't know if I can like quite go that they're gonna go 4-0, but I mean 3-1's got enough. They didn't even win the final at Easter's qualifier. They lost to Wilmington. Didn't have the spot, so they gave it away. So I'm not trying to make fun of JMU. Go out there and do your best. You could get some wins. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen it. I know they've got their supporters. So, I mean, this is a very compelling field. We get some of the cross coast competition. We get to see SLO up against the likes of Carleton. You get to see Oregon and Cal coming out to the east to see what they can do against UMass and UNC. We have some teams that we don't quite know a lot about. I feel like I don't really know what Tufts and Penn State and Michigan are capable of. I don't feel like I have a good thing of Georgia Tech or Georgia right now. So there's some teams I'm very curious about. I do feel like, those top 6 teams maybe feel like they are in the driver's seat, but
sure.
These things surprise us at Easterns. It doesn't always go the way we expect.
Definitely not. I mean, I still remember some of those years when Michigan made a run. This is a look at our top 25 right now, from last week. and the teams in green are playing this weekend at Easterns. So, I mean, we are talking about like basically all the good teams besides those couple of West Coast teams that played at Northwest Challenge. Um, and like, I'm thrilled. Like, what more do you want? Like, WashU's playing this weekend. I think Texas is playing at Huck Finn. Actually, I didn't check the team list.
I don't think they are. I think it's WashU, Chicago. I don't think
Okay.
Texas is playing at Huck Finn.
Texas is done. They play Centex and that's it. But look at this. I mean, whoever wins this tournament is likely to be considered the favorite going into nationals. It's just that simple. So let's pop up back over to the pools. I'm very curious. I think specifically about Pool C because I want to see. I mean, any of the top two matchups, especially in Pool C and D, look great. But like, how good is Tech? Like, this is a real tester pool. You have like a good regionals team in Wilmington, and then like, I know it's not maybe an up year for Pittsburgh, but this is still like a legacy program. And then two of the best teams in the country in Carleton and SLO. And like, do they finish right where they are? Do they get a big upset? Do they blow it and finish bottom of this pool? Remember, Easterns it's not easy to make a run because only the top two teams advance to quarters. There's no pre-quarter. So you have to finish top two. I kind of like the pressure, even though it's a little different than a typical tournament. But it means that like you have to, if you're Tech, you cannot just rely on kind of like cruising into a pre-quarter and hoping to do some damage there. You have to go out and beat one of those top two teams.
Big prove it tournament for Tribe, and they've shown some good results. Like from what I understand, they have looked like they belong, but now you got to prove that you can really go in and go up against elite top level teams. I also am very curious about what we're going to see from Oregon. It really feels like we have not quite seen them have that breakout weekend yet. After so much hype in the preseason, thought they could be the number one team. And we just haven't really gotten to it yet. So are we going to see that statement? Are they going to be able to get a win over Carleton or UMass or UNC? I feel like that's what's going to be necessary. Or, I mean, I guess beating SLO would look pretty good, or crushing Colorado, but I feel like they have to go out and make a statement against one of those teams for you to feel confident about what they're going to be able to do at nationals.
I mean, the thing is, they only have 2 losses this season. They're number 2 in the rankings, but it doesn't feel like they've gotten that big win. I mean, they basically haven't. Their 2 top 5 matchups against UNC and Carleton are both losses. So I agree. I mean, I think this is the chance for all these teams to really test themselves. And there's no more excuses. There's no more early season. There's no more, whatever reason you want to give. Like, go out and win this weekend. And to be frank, like a team as great as UNC that's won so many titles, they don't always tend to play very well here. So this is a chance to take them out when, they kind of have this monkey on their back. Now, I know they've won it recently. They won last year, I think. But for many years, even when they were the best team in the country, no, it was Georgia the one here last year. So I think that the door is wide open to pretty much all these teams up at the top.
The team that if you look at our power rankings and these seedings, is overranked is Cal as a top 2 team. This to me is another chance. The last time that we saw them, they were playing without Dexter Clyburn, so I think you kind of give them a pass for how they were playing at Stanford Invite, where they lost to Western Washington and SLO. So back with Clyburn back in the fold, are we going to see this team emerge as a team that could maybe battle for a semifinal spot, or are they going to look a little locked in to being a lower tier team that maybe is not even a confident quarters pick? So they're a team that I've got my eye on, and I mean, I need to see UNC. Like, what they did at Smoky Mountain Invite was incredible. Or could they just be the like dominant number 1 favorite going into nationals? I think that's on the table for them, but they'll have to prove it. I do think they're in a great position in their pool, but you're going to be looking for what they do in the bracket.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, first of all, Cal, their pre-quarter/quarters team even with Clyburn. I mean, when he's been in the lineup, they've still not beaten the top teams, and it hasn't been necessarily all that close. I think it's a little too much hype to give them. Talk about semis? No. But I'll be, if they make it to semis of this tournament, I think I'll be impressed. Now for UNC, I mean, to do what they did without Dameron at SMI was very impressive. But keep in mind, they did have 2 1-goal wins over Colorado and UMass. So it's not like they were that far away from, losing in quarters, basically. So can they do it now? Everyone at full strength. I think they're going to easily take care of their pool, but that's the nature of being the 1 seed. And so the question for me will come in semis probably and finals if they get there, and how they handle those other top teams.
It should be. I'm thinking this is going to be a tough weekend to make picks for. I think there's a lot of teams you can make your case for. I think it's easy potentially to just go to the chalk to UNC, but I'll be curious to see where you go because I am undecided. I am making the decisions.
Oh my gosh!
I tried to think about it beforehand, but I just couldn't lock in on what exactly I want to do when it comes down to it.
I'm going. We're doing semis, right?
Semis, finals, champion.
I'm going Colorado, Carolina, UMass, slow. Is that crazy? No, I don't think so. They always underperform at this tournament because somebody doesn't travel. Never mind. Give me Carleton. I really like slow, but I just, maybe they'll travel everybody and it'll go fine, but I feel like they always play worse at this tournament than they're capable of. So I'm going UNC, UMass, Carleton, Colorado in semis. Give me the rematch of UNC and UMass in the final, and I'm taking UMass to win this tournament.
Oh man, I was like, I also think I'm gonna take UMass to win this thing. I think that's where
Really?
I've landed. Yeah, I feel like a UNC getting upset in semifinals thing feels right. Just feels like the direction we're headed. I think that opens the door for UMass. I don't see UNC really struggling in pool play, but that 2C 1D matchup that you're kind of talking about with slow / Carleton probably, and Oregon / Colorado. Like I have real trouble handicapping who I expect to be in that spot. But I think I could see Oregon not winning their pool and then beating UNC in semis. I think that's a potential path for them, or winning their pool. I guess they have to win their pool in that situation. So yeah, I think I'm going to take UMass over Oregon in the final, and I will take UNC in semis because I just think their path is really clear. And who's my last team? Who do I think I got to take Carleton. I hate to just pick the top 4 seeds at a tournament this good, but I think those are the teams I expect to do the best.
Okay. And then your finalists?
My finalists are UMass and Oregon. I got UMass winning. And the subscribers, Colin has Carleton beating UNC in the final with UMass and Oregon in the semi. So he's also got all the 1 seeds. Can you run your picks down for me again? You got UMass winning over whom?
Over Carolina.
Over UNC. Okay. And then you got Colorado and Carleton as your other semis.
Correct.
In the chat says slow will be without 1 starter. No names. So you're already on it.
Listen, I get to claim that I would have picked them if they end up beating Carleton and winning that pool and going to semis.
Not your first rodeo here.
That's right. Jason says Oregon is healthy. We should see their best version. I mean, it's great to hear that teams are mostly healthy. I wonder if UMass is going to have their guys back. Are we going to see Kelman on the field? That's always a big part of this, and you have to keep in mind we've not always seen full strength teams so far this year. It's going to be an awesome. I mean, this is going to be an unbelievable tournament. We're going to have a showcase game every single round, where we're broadcasting with commentary throughout the tournament. And then we're also going to have an extra game from Easterns, as well as a game each round from D3 Easterns. So this is just like a mega streaming weekend. So if you don't already have yourself a subscription, this is a great time to lock in. Sign up now before prices go up next month. Lock in. You can get an annual subscription or lock in on a monthly rate that you'll keep. And so as long as you stay subscribed, you'll keep your lower price. And what a weekend it's going to be for streaming, Keith.
Charlie, so Forrest in the chat says Vermont upsets UNC in pool play. Trust. I need you to give me an upset in pool play, but you can't pick Colorado over Oregon.
Are you giving credence to the Vermont over UNC here?
No, I'm not. I need you to pick one though. You can pick Vermont over UNC if you want.
Okay.
Who's getting upset in pool play?
Penn State finishes second in Pool B.
I like that. I'm taking Northeastern. I'm taking Northeastern. And I think Northeastern finishing second in Pool B is where I want to go. I think they're for real.
My first thought was Northeastern over Cal, and I decided it wasn't hot enough, so I'm going Penn State.
It isn't super hot. It's fair that it isn't a scorcher.
Penn State.
I wonder if Georgia writes this shit, man.
A few of these teams that are like a little bit further down the rankings, it could like have an awesome weekend and really change the narrative, right? Tech, Brown, Penn State, Pitt. I mean, any of those teams from like 11 to 17. I really don't know that I believe we're going to see much more from any of those other teams. And is Minnesota fully toast? I guess we'll see this weekend.
It's crazy how low the price is on Pitt stock right now. Like, it's crazy.
It is a little crazy. Oxshot in the chat says Brown to semis. I mean, that means they got to get past one of or both of Oregon and Colorado just out of the gate. Not so easy. Keith, D3 Easterns. It's filling the void of the FCS tune-up, which is no longer operating. And so we now have like a very competitive D3 event to cap off the year. Take a look. Here are your pools. Middlebury, Elon, Franciscan, Lewis, and Clark, the top seeds in those pools. But I mean, look, all the way to the bottom. We have good teams at this tournament. Who's winning this thing? I mean, we can talk about matchups. We can talk about who's going to win. Like, what's on your mind when we see this? Technically, Franciscan is the highest ranked team per USAU.
They're also the highest in our power rankings. So the number 2 team in our power rankings. But I'm curious about some of these teams. You know, Franciscan, they've only played one tournament. That's not uncommon at this point. And they had some close wins in that event. So, you know, are people selling all the way on Williams or Richmond, teams that we've seen do very well at nationals, but have not had particularly the strongest regular season? I don't know. This UNC Asheville team kind of popped up out of nowhere at D3 River City Showdown. They ended up losing to Franciscan twice, but they beat Chop and Kenyon and Rochester. So, like, how good are they, or how legit are they at the 5 seed? You got the traveling team and Lewis and Clark. But maybe the team, I mean, I guess Franciscan's probably still the team I'm the most curious about, with the exception of Wesleyan, who, I have personal ties to at this point. But how good is this Elon team right now? They have kind of shot up the rankings over the course of the regular season. They're all the way up to number 5 in our power rankings right now. And, they've got some good Carolina, Braden Morrison, Reed Burkert. I'm curious to see, like, is this team legit? Are number 5 in the power rankings is like, you might be in title contention. So they're a team I'm definitely curious about.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Meanwhile, the top ranked D3 team, Davenport, which and they're number 41 in the aggregate rankings, including D1 teams. They are playing over at Huck Finn, so that'll be something to keep an eye on as well. How do they handle the mostly D1 competition over at Huck Finn? While we have Franciscan, Middlebury, Elon, I'm hearing all of that right now. Crazy sounds from Keith's earphones coming out of his ears. And so, yeah, I mean, look, this is awesome. Like, many of the top 10 teams in the country in action this weekend at D3 Easterns. Hopefully you can still hear me, Keith.
Yes, I can. Excited to have the tournament streamed alongside this one. So there's going to be action all day on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, you going to make your finals picks for D3 Easterns?
Oh yeah, tough. I mean, I think we're going to see. Plus, you have this crossover round, so like your formatting is tough to count on. So you're really just looking at top teams. Give me Franciscan over Middlebury in the final. Do I want to start for Lewis and Clark? No.
I'm going Elon over Middlebury.
All right.
It's going to be fun, though.
Yeah, it should be a nice teaser for the postseason.
Schedule has taken a little bit of time. Like, these schedules just got posted today, so we don't quite have a full-fledged streaming schedule out yet. But rest assured, it will be out likely by the end of today, if not by tomorrow. So keep an eye on our social media and in the Discord if you're a subscriber. And any level of subscription gets you into the Discord. So join us in there and get ready for the streams this weekend from Easterns. All right. We've got what throw of the year is in the notes here. Is that just checking in on the voting in the bracket right now? There it is. BDS versus Fantine Monarat in the one side of the bracket, and Calvin Brown taking on Masashi Kurono in the other. Go vote right now on ultiworld.com for the throw of the year from 2024. And finals coming up right around the corner.
Yeah, Monarat with the bigger round getting there. I know Edward was a big fan of Masashi Kurono. So if you want to show love for Edward, I think the Calvin Brown one's a little overrated. I give me BDS. I think BDS versus Kurono, and I'm taking BDS. That's where I'm at.
I'm going Kurono, but I respect the BDS one a lot. It's a great play. Okay, let's see. Really quick before we get to our mailbag question, we also have Huck Finn and East Coast Invite this weekend. Should we just throw down some quick picks on who's going to take those ones down?
Sure. I mean, we talked a little bit about Huck Finn and the field. They have a power pool and pool situation going on. So they have WashU and Chicago at the top of the two power pools with Emory, Stanford, Colorado State, Davenport, Indiana, and OC. So top D3 teams mixing in with some regional/national level D1 teams. That'll be interesting. And there's also St. Olaf's in the field too. So there's definitely some strong McAllister, some strong D3 competition in the mix at this tournament as well, just like there is at Easterns.
Boring, but I'm taking WashU over Chicago.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I could talk myself into one of these other teams. You know, like, is it totally nuts to pick WashU over Davenport? I think I'm going to do it.
I thought about it.
I think that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go WashU over Davenport. I think Chicago's actually pretty good, but I don't know why they haven't had all their players at some of these tournaments. I know that they did well at Centex despite missing some of their key guys. So, like, is everybody going to be there this weekend? I don't know. So I'll take Davenport.
Okay. We've got ECI. It's a bigger deal in the women's division. Tufts will be the heavy favorite for sure. They'll also, we talked about it earlier in the bid conversation, Northeastern trying to play in for another Northeast bid. Virginia, Penn, Ohio State, William and Mary, and so on down the list. Lots of good regionals teams. Pittsburgh, Georgia, Wisconsin, and so should be really interesting. I mean, this is like not necessarily hugely impactful from like a national perspective, but for like regionals bids and seeding at regionals, this is going to be a big deal. It's like a really solid second tier tournament.
And there is, we talked about the bid picture for Northeastern, and there's other teams, and the biggest storyline to watch. Tufts is going to play against Virginia and UPenn, as well as Ohio State and Georgetown in their schedule. And the way this tournament works, it's got an interesting format. It's match play, so the predetermined 4 games for every team, and then the teams with the best record will make it to quarterfinals, and the tiebreaker for that will be like your algorithmic ranking from the weekend. So a little bit of a hybrid with kind of like what you see at Florida warm up. If you're playing Tufts, you're probably not going undefeated, but how many 3-1 teams are going to get in, and which ones will have the best ranking? Every point could matter at this tournament. So I'll be very interested to see, which challengers emerge. Notre Dame, like, are they going to look like they could be an upset potential team at Great Lakes? I don't know. After what we saw from Michigan, it feels like a pretty far cry. Who could there be another AC team? Could they get a second bid? D3, bunch of storylines there. I'll be there with Wesleyan, St. Olaf's there, Haverford's there. So those are a bunch of teams that see themselves as title contenders that are going to be there representing D3. So that's kind of another set of storylines to look at too. Mount Holyoke playing their only tournament of the year. They could be a semis quality team if they look really good.
I'm a huge fan of the format. It's like warm up light. I love it. Maybe this will be a 3-day tournament sometime. Should there be more 3-day late season tournaments?
I don't know. I don't know what the academic necessities are of players at this point in the year. I know it can get pretty touch and go as people's schedules get pretty busy. Plus, they passed the spring break mark, so maybe it's tough, but maybe it can make it work. Maybe it should be with spring break. Maybe there's.
Yeah, I mean, most people take their spring break, like 2-3 weeks ago?
About.
It'd be interesting to see a tournament like this try to move to a 3-day format over spring break. Could happen. On the men's side, you've got William and Mary, Maryland, Case Western, Cornell, Carnegie Mellon, Yale, and so on down the way. Lots of Metro East teams playing, maybe no surprise. This is in Delaware. And, this is not going to move the needle from a nationals bid perspective. But once again, lots of teams fighting for positioning at seeding and regionals and things like that. Shout out NYU.
I love it. I love the NYU shout
out. Picks. I'm going Tufts. That's easy enough. I think Northeastern has everything to play for, and I think they'll finish second here.
Yeah, I think they're good, and like maybe they give Tufts a run. I don't think they could beat Tufts, but I also would take Tufts over Northeastern.
Tufts going to do the region a solid and have a bad game.
I mean, if they lose to Northeastern, are we going to hear the collusion calls?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
The Southwest does not take kindly to people coming after their bids. If you've seen Discord.
How about the men's side, Keith? Who you taking?
I also am going to take William and Mary here, the top seed. They've definitely been the most impressive team in this group that I've seen. I'm going to take William and Mary over. I was a little hyped on Cornell by Edward Stevens after Florida warm up, but seeing them go to Oak Creek Challenge and lose to Rutgers kind of shakes my confidence there. So I guess I'm going to take Maryland as my finalist. That's where I'll land.
I think I'm going to go the same thing. There's a pretty steep drop off in team quality at these events. So give me the top two. I've got William and Mary taking it as well. All right, time for our mailbag question of the week, and this has been a big piece of chatter for years, but especially this year in the Discord, it's been a lot talked about, and that is, should USA Ultimate continue to give a bid to the Northwest via BYU when BYU, of course, plays the first day of conferences, excuse me, and then doesn't play Sunday, they're out, that's it, but the bid stays in the Northwest if they choose to do that. Should this be the policy that USAU has on the books?
The obvious answer here is no, right? Is we should not continue to award a bid to a region based on a team doing well in the regular season that doesn't have an intention of finishing the postseason. Like, it's obviously unfair. However, we have to think about what's the rule that you write in, and what are other use cases for that rule that could negatively affect people in a way that feels unfair, right? This is all assuming that, presupposing that there's no accommodation that is an option for USA Ultimate and BYU. So we're presupposing that, right? But is there another situation that could arise that could result in this rule being enacted that would feel really unfair that we're not considering when creating this rule to prevent this bid from continuing to go to the Northwest?
I think if you're trying to hunt around for what that is, you're looking for a problem that doesn't exist. And if it were to come up, you could just deal with it then. To me, this is just a bizarre situation that I think USAU is sort of trying to avoid seeming like they're involving themselves in any way with the BYU conversation. They're just sort of leaning on like, well, if everyone can play, and once you start the series, that means the bids are all intact. And BYU can't go to regionals because they didn't play on Sunday. Like, oh, how funny how that happened. Like they're acting like they're trying to be neutral about a scenario that is obviously not neutral, and continues to advantage the Northwest at the expense of other regions and teams that deserve a spot at nationals. And I just don't think it's fair. And I don't think it makes any sense. So either USAU needs to make a real effort to find a way for BYU to be involved, which they clearly do not want to do because they had a chance to do it last year when the BYU women could have qualified for both regionals and nationals in one day of play, and they did not make an exception. And so they don't want to accommodate them, in which case then let's just not have them in the system. Like, if you can even let them play at conferences if you want. Just say that their bid doesn't count for regionals to nationals. Say that you have to compete at regionals in order for the bid to convey to nationals. I guess you could end up in a situation where the BYU team has a one-day conference and then they play the first day of regionals, but I don't know, cross that bridge.
Or you could end up in a situation in which a bid earner is eliminated at conferences.
I guess so. I mean, that's why I think you should just carve BYU out specifically instead of looking for some universal policy. Just say BYU and any other team that is knowingly not going to compete at the next level because they can't play one of the days of the weekend. You just carve them out and you say that their bids don't count. Because it makes no sense to let the Northwest just get to ride this gravy train when they, and not that it's that bad this year. They have a lot of good teams in the region. But if I'm Wash U and I get left out because BYU decides to play conferences, I'm going to be pissed, and understandably so.
Yeah, I think the status quo is just clearly not where we need to be. Like, this is not good for anybody. It just leads to this conversation happening every year, which is bad for USA Ultimate. But it also just doesn't feel fair. And I think that it's obvious that where we are right now is not tenable. And I think that they need to make a move to do something in one way or the other.
And I mean, listen, if USAU comes out and lays down the law on this, then gives an incentive to the Northwest region to try to figure something out to get BYU to be able to qualify for nationals. I kind of want to see what it looks like if they can figure out a way and force USAU's hand to deal with the BYU situation once BYU is qualified for nationals. I mean, I know I'm maybe minority opinion on this, but I have been saying for years that they should find a way to accommodate them. And I know a lot of people disagree with me. Probably the large majority of people disagree with me, but I think it's really good to allow teams to have an opportunity to play and making reasonable accommodations. I think the argument is over the word reasonable there, is a good thing to do. It's why high school national invite is played on Friday and Saturday. And it's been totally fine.
I do think that there was an interesting question in the conversation in the Discord that was raised. That's like, basically, is it better for BYU to keep winning the bid in order to engender, good vibes from their Northwest brethren, or is it better for them to not win the bid and kind of hold it hostage and say, like, look, if you want this bid back, you need to accommodate us? Like, which is the better bargaining chip to get the rest of your region to the table? Is it, hey, look at what we've done for you for all these years? Or is it like, if you want this bid, you're going to need to meet us where we're at?
I think they've been good cop long enough. It's bad cop time. Keep in mind that if they did in fact play at regionals, that whatever team is hoping to, snipe their bid is not going to snipe it because BYU is really good. All right. Let us know your thoughts. Email us up, deeplook@oldtworld.com. Hit us up in the Discord, or of course, hit us in the chat. Coming up in our subscriber bonus segment, we are going to try to draft a super team, maybe the super team, the Tokay super team, to beat the U.S. So we're going to try to draft a team that can knock off the World Games U.S. roster. A great question from Matt in the Discord. So join us live over in the Discord right after this, where we dive into that topic. Thank you so much for tuning in. For Keith, I'm Charlie, signing off until next Tuesday at noon Eastern on Deep Look. I know the Lobos busted some brackets. Almost took out Michigan State, too.
Wesleyan's busting up that ECI bracket.